What's going on, everyone? Today is Thursday, August 23rd, 2018. I have a few thoughts that I want to put at the end of the video, or kind of questions. So I have 4 written down here. I've been trying to think of more, but I think these 4 are pretty good. And I think I'm very interested to hear answers to this, because I think some of them are controversial. I'm just kidding. None of them are very controversial at all, but I think they're interesting. So I just want to jump through and get 2 articles out of the way, and then kind of look at price very, very briefly. But I'm mainly going to spend most of the time, or at least try to, on these questions that I've come up with. So yeah, excited to get into this. Excited to ask these questions to you guys. Excited to hear your thoughts, if you have any. If you don't, thanks for watching. If you're new to the channel, also please consider subscribing to the channel for updates. I try and do at least a few videos a week. Yeah, but let me just pull my screen up and we can kind of just look at this real quick. This is just the overall global market cap. Not much to talk about here. Bitcoin's kind of been trading around this area for a long time. If we take a look on the chart, you can see really since August 6th or 7th, kind of been in this this area of consolidation, of trying to find a bottom potentially. You know, still that 57, 5800 is still pretty much so far what we've seen as a bottom. You can see the wick touch there, but we've also had a wick up to the 50-day moving average right here just a few days ago. I know a lot of people got excited about that. So yeah, other than that, price, not really much to talk about. I have been enjoying watching Nano. Nano's been crazy if you've been trading it, try and get some profits. It's insanely volatile. So yeah, Nano's really, really great. I think a day or two ago it was 170, and like two or 3 days before that it was over $2. So yeah, it's been fun doing that. But yeah, this first article here, published on newsbtc.com, published by Pratik Dimri. Japan has no plans to curb crypto, seeks further growth. So Japan's always kind of been, or at least for the recent past, been very supportive of crypto. They do want to get regulations in place, because there are definitely some things in cryptocurrency that people could benefit from being protected from. The space is, you know, especially for somebody not very tech savvy, it could be a little dangerous, right? In terms of scams, in terms of losing your private keys or whatever the case. But yeah, I mean, basically, I just want to sum it up a little bit. One of these paragraphs starts off: the rise of blockchain technology and crypto is a phenomenon which has left governments across the globe struggling with the issue of how to legally position this new class of assets. Some countries, such as China, have banned cryptocurrencies entirely. Some are still brainstorming how to deal with them, while some are designing regulations which promote their development while ensuring consumer security. Japan belongs to a class of countries which recognize the disruptive potential of blockchain. However, they're in favor of the growth and in the regulation of it. So, I mean, basically, that's what I want to sum up about this article. Again, Japan has been seen as a friend to crypto, and Japan is one of the largest countries involved in, like, volume-wise in regards to cryptocurrency and trading and investment and everything. I believe US, Japan, and South Korea, I believe, are the 3 most involved countries at this point. And then real quick, again, going to jump into this article and then kind of get into those questions that I want to ask. And this is really short. This is published on Cointelegraph.com by William Suberg. Just that Binance and OKX volumes surge while Coinbase Kraken see over 70% drops. And basically, I think the article kind of attributes that to, you know, despite altcoins are going down in price, and that's kind of been the trend, Binance offers a huge number of those, of altcoin trading pairs as well, and appears to have used them to its advantage. So potentially the fact that Binance is quickly becoming the top exchange in the world, if it's not already. The massive number of altcoins potentially could be somewhat responsible for that, because we do see exchanges like Coinbase kind of suffering a little bit in terms of their volume. So yeah, I mean, I think most people recognize Binance as like the premier exchange. If you would ask maybe a year ago, back when Bitfinex could be used in the US, maybe people had different opinions back then, but at least for the past few months, for sure, Binance has been we've kind of seen it become more and more prominent and more recognized as like the #1 exchange. So to get into the first question here, this one's very, very talked about already. So I want to kind of frame it in a way that might elicit a different response or a different way of looking at it. So does price matter to you? And overwhelmingly, when I've asked this, 99% of people say obviously yes. But of course, you're going to get people to say, no, I don't care about the price at all. And I'm just kind of curious about that. So I guess to expand on that question, I can kind of give this hypothetical scenario. Again, doesn't make any sense. I don't think this hypothetical scenario will ever happen. But for the sake of answering this question, I kind of want to frame it this way. So if the price of Bitcoin or whatever is in your portfolio never went up in value again, and in fact potentially went down in value from here, if essentially here is the peak of the value of your portfolio in regards to fiat valuations, right? If it was never worth more than it is currently now, and in fact it did end up going down in the future, and if you somehow could know that, would you sell all of your cryptocurrency? Would you sell majority of it? Would you sell some of it? And the reason I ask that is because if your answer to that question is yes, I would sell because the price is going down, I think it goes without saying that price does matter to you, because that's kind of the definition of does price matter to you. If it would go down and you would lose money and you would lose those valuations if you would sell, then that answers the question. Yes, price matters to you. But when you ask people, does price matter to you? I think a lot of people start doing these mental gymnastics to try and answer the question. But I think phrasing it in this way is kind of like a way to kind of elicit a different response, hopefully. So yeah, does price matter to you? Do you care about the price of Bitcoin and cryptocurrency? And again, this is one of those questions I kind of already know the answer to, what people are going to say. So it's one of the least interesting of the four questions that I have written here. But I just wanted to ask it because I know that I'm going to get somebody probably that'll say, no, price doesn't matter to me. And I kind of want to hear what they have to say. The second question here, so the ETFs were denied yesterday. Some ETFs were denied yesterday, the ProShares ones, as well as others, I believe. So do you believe that people were prepared for it? Because the price did not necessarily move at all, like we saw with the Winklevoss ETF. Do you believe that the price didn't move because people were prepared for it? Do you believe that the price didn't move because the market doesn't care about these particular ETFs? Or maybe the market doesn't care about ETFs in general? Because as time goes on, it's becoming more and more apparent that, Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, we don't need ETFs. And potentially it could end up being worse for cryptocurrency if they would get approved. And I know a lot of people are also changing their sentiment to this. And again, that's something you have to consider, right? So is this a good thing? Is it a bad thing? I think it's good that the price did not move at all. Obviously, I think that's, in my opinion, that's how I would view this. But do you believe that people don't care about it anymore, about ETFs? I know with the SolidX VanEck ETF potentially being postponed again after September 30th or around September 30th, or being accepted or denied essentially around that time, I know that's the ETF more people care about, so there might be more reaction to that in the market. Again, not to be too blunt about it, but nobody really cared too much about these ETFs in particular. And I think it's cool. I made a video about it saying like, hey guys, hopefully don't overreact about this. And I don't think my video really made a difference. However, people didn't overreact. So I'm glad that people didn't. So again, I think probably we'll see something else with the VanEck ETF, VanEck SolidX ETF, because it's physically backed as opposed to these futures-based ones. Yeah, I think people will get more excited about that one. These, I don't think people necessarily care about. And even actually the top news article here, SEC rejects 9 Bitcoin ETF applications from ProShares, Direxion, and Granite shares. So price didn't budge. Do people not care? Next question I have here, it's going to be a lot shorter of a question. Have you sold or traded in the past month in hopes of getting gains, or have you just been completely holding? Because I know if I would have asked this a few months ago, most people would have said holding. Now I feel like the tides have shifted a little bit, and people are experimenting more with trading, seeing if they can get gains, especially on smaller coins. Because I have been talking to more and more people in DMs and across, and people are more interested in that. And I'm curious if that's something that this wider audience of people on YouTube also are doing. And so the last question I want to ask, it's kind of redundant, but what is your opinions on technical analysis in regards to cryptocurrency? Now, again, I use it a little bit, less on my videos, but more so when it comes to just small trades and stuff like that in my free time. Because I do think I think it's necessary if you're going to do trading. But as far as just doing it for yourself and trading, I think it's pretty useful. Even though, again, it's probably less than 50-50. Most of the time you're going to be wrong. Because there are so many scenarios. And even if you line up the trend line and do this and that, the market especially cryptocurrency, does not really abide by those rules. Maybe in traditional finance or stocks, it's more relevant. Obviously, that's more of a established field. But when it comes to crypto, there's a lot of debate on whether it works at all. And again, I said my opinion about this. I think that if you're going to do trading, it's very necessary to look at it. But at the same time, we have to take it with a grain of salt, because it's not something, especially in crypto, and not to be offensive, but I guess this is going to come off as offensive to people. I can already tell it's going to come off as offensive, and I don't necessarily want it to be offensive, but at the same time, I'm just being honest about my opinion. Again, everyone has their own opinion. But in terms of technical analysis, it's not that, it's not very hard. It's not one of those things that, like, at least to me, that you can get like extremely good at, especially compared to other professions or other hobbies. And that's just based on my experience with other things as well. I feel TA is pretty hollow in the sense that, I don't feel like people can spend like years and years perfecting it like you can with so many other things in the world, right? You can spend hours and hours and get really good at certain things. But I feel like that opportunity doesn't really exist with technical analysis, because it's a shallower, how do I say, it's like there's not much depth to it, and most of it is just guessing. You could say the same thing maybe about poker, but there are certain rules about poker that kind of always work. There's only a certain amount of cards in a deck, right? So that in itself kind of limits the possibilities. With crypto, there's obviously only a certain number of Bitcoin or a certain amount of this or that, which doesn't really relate to even technical analysis to begin with. But I guess, what are your thoughts on that? I kind of went off on a little bit of a rant there. Basically, to sum it up, I do think technical analysis is useful. However, you have to be aware that most of the time, especially if you're getting the information from other people, most of the time, like, obviously, and people say this too, like, nobody knows what's going to happen. I guess just don't get tricked into thinking that people know more than you do, because nobody does. And really, if you are interested in doing technical analysis, I would recommend just going to tradingview.com, maybe paying for an account. I pay for, I think mine's like $15 a month, just so I get a few more indicators and I don't have that annoying ad pop up all the time. But besides that, don't get hung up on trusting people like 100% on their TA. Maybe learn how to do it on your own, because it really doesn't take that much time. It's especially compared to a lot of other things, it's very, very simple. It's fun to do. It's a nice hobby. It's interesting to look at, especially if you're investing. And if you do care about price, then you're going to want to look at the charts more. If you don't care about price, again, you probably won't ever look at the charts. But yeah, again, I had 3 other questions prior to that one. Sorry for going off on the rant there a little bit. But does price matter to you? Basically, about the ETFs then. Have you sold or traded? Have you tried to get into other things? And then, yeah, what is your opinion on TA and cryptocurrency?